How are you doing, guys? This is Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com. Yes, I am alive. I know it's been way too long since I made a video. There's actually nobody watching it, and it's not surprising because I have been so out of the loop for so long. So I will give it a few seconds. So there we go, at least one or two people coming in. But yeah, like I was saying, I've been really out of it for a long time. I've just been just working. I don't work all that much, but to me, I have what I would call work avoidance syndrome. So working, 50 hours a week or whatever definitely takes a lot of emotional capital, even if it's not a particularly stressful job. And so I don't get to do as many of the things that I think I should be doing or would like to be doing as I'd like. And I just got done working out, so excuse me if I'm a little red. People don't understand that I'm just super white and I can get red for any reason or for no reason. They'll be like, "Oh, you've been working out?" And sometimes yes. Most of the time when I'm working out, you can tell. Those will be like, "Oh, are you hot?" And I'll be like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, are you embarrassed? Oh, are you angry?" And I'm just like, "Dude, I'm just really white. I get red. Just deal with it. I'm sorry I ruined your day." My face just gets red sometimes. God damn it. Hey, Drop the Blades. Thanks for watching. This is going to be just not too long a video. I realized I had totally forgot to do my last Battlbox one, and I'm excited because this one is heavy as hell. So there's another one going to be coming up soon. I know I've said this a bunch of times. Thanks, Ray. Welcome. But I am going to be making more videos, much more in the new year. The reason that I have been so bad about it lately is because instead of admitting that under my current work schedule and everything, there's only so many things that you can do. I've been kind of pretending like I'm still doing all these things and just not actually doing them right now. And so in the reality is that I end up just not doing almost any of it. Instead of admitting that I'm just going to have to pick 2 or 3 of these things and actually other than working and just do that and not be able to do the others for a while, I've been kind of like trying to see if I can do all of it, and it just isn't happening. So obviously I have to work. So someday I hope to remedy that, but for the time being, that's just the reality. And working out is not optional for me. So that's another thing that has to get crammed in. And then beyond that, I have to choose maybe 2 other things, like a little bit of socializing. Right now, I don't have to deal with, or I haven't had to for many years, deal with, trying to pick up women or whatever because I've been in a relationship for so long. So that's one thing that saves me some time. But then you can have a little bit of socialization, the side hustle stuff, and the videos, and that's about it. I had to admit that I don't have time to do the jiu-jitsu or martial arts right now. I really want to get back into it as soon as possible, but to be able to actually do it, I would have to get rid of one of those other things. And I'm not in a position where it makes sense to stop doing the side hustle stuff and the video stuff right now, because it takes a lot of them. Like, I really do enjoy doing the martial arts and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, but it takes a lot of energy. And I don't necessarily mean physical energy, which it of course does, but it's really like my body does not seem to handle it well. And to call it agony would not be an understatement. So to force myself to go to even like an hour class after work, a full day of work, 3 times a week or whatever, it really takes, I have almost no ability to do anything else for the rest of that day, even though technically I have time, like there are hours remaining in the day. When you add in, and then to actually also work out, it's just, and I'm not willing to not do any other workout, because as much as a good workout as martial arts is, it's not enough to literally make you significantly stronger, significantly bigger, or anything like that just by itself. It might improve your cardio or things like that. So for the time being, until I can find a way to drastically reduce the amount of time that I have to spend working, that's one of the things I'm just probably not going to be able to do for at least a few months, unfortunately. But admitting that there's some things that I'm just not going to be able to do should help me be able to make more videos, which I'm going to hopefully do more on a schedule instead of just trying to fit all these things in and realizing that I'm not going to do any of it. But first up, Battlbox. Like I said, I believe this is actually the November one, but it's really heavy, which I like. So I can't wait to dig into this thing. If you guys have any questions or thoughts about prepping related stuff, impending boogaloo, any of that shit, post it in the chat and I'll get to it in a few minutes. Started watching about half a year ago and I'm not able to stop. I appreciate it, man. I really do. I mean, it honestly, it makes me feel really good to just know that there's people who enjoy this, enjoy watching my videos, enjoy what I have to say, stuff like that. It's really cool. So let's see what we have to do. What do you need is, is the blood of many gypsies. Man, I need the money of many non-gypsies is what I need, so I don't have to have a job. I've tried so many times, and honestly, if I'd never tried to not have a job and had just, I'm actually pretty damn good at saving money, like living beneath my means and saving money. The problem is as soon as I get to a point where I have enough money to try doing something on my own and not having to work a normal full-time job, I do that and it never works. And then I have to lose all the money I saved and I have to go back to having a full-time job. It's been a brutal cycle. And if I hadn't ever actually done that and had literally just socked away all that money and never tried to do my own businesses or any side hustle, like major side hustle stuff with that, I would have a ton of money. Enough to where I probably could be close to not having to work. So that's quite painful of a thought, to think that I could have just blown it all on cars and strippers or whatever and be in the exact same place financially, but I try not to think about that. Far better is it to dare mighty things, they say, right? Let's see what we got. And ooh, focus. You win an average 1 in 10 times. No, that's what they say. It's actually Robert Kiyosaki said, 9 out of 10 businesses fail, so I came up with a foolproof plan. Start 10 businesses. Haven't tried 10 yet, but that can get kind of expensive depending on how much it costs to start a business. If you get 9 losses in a row, it's take a few years and a few $1,000 at least. But, you know, whatever this is called dead fish. DED. See what happens. I'm guessing this is some kind of like Scandinavian. The Lord among us does live. Exactly. The rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated. For whatever reason, dead fish reminded me of when I went to Iceland not long ago, about a year or two ago, and I had to try the hakara, which is like the fermented shark meat. It's from the flesh of the Greenland shark, which is one of the longest living vertebrates as far as I know. They can live to be 300 to 500 years old. And so I wanted to consume its powers. But their blood is like full of ammonia, or their tissue is full of ammonia because how they survive in the super chilled Arctic waters. It's almost like they have antifreeze in them, basically. So if you were to eat them fresh, like you caught them and then immediately cooked and ate them or whatever, you would get sick or poisoned by the ammonia. So they have to let it ferment or sit off for the ammonia to off-gas. So they like bury it in these pots or pits or whatever. It's a very like traditional kind of ancient Scandinavian Icelandic dish. But even when it's done, the process is fermented for months or however long it takes, it still has a ton of ammonia in it. So you can smell, like some people say it tastes like piss. To me, it smelled literally like you opened a can of or a bottle of ammonia and whiffed it. It just smelled like pure ammonia. So it was not pleasant, but yeah, shark kimchi. Says, I'm glad you know what I'm talking about because I don't. Oh, well, apparently you were right, even if accidentally. Now this is pretty cool looking. These look really classy. Look like some kitchen type knives. That's awesome. These are really lightweight. It's a giant chef's knife. The really cool mirror finish. I actually don't have an amazingly good chef knife. I think my girlfriend has a decent one. Then it comes with a little, I don't know if you'd call this a paring knife or what, but and a really cool wooden handle with metal rivets in there, which even have some patterns on their own. I really like the handle or the pattern on that blade as well. That's pretty cool. Very classy looking as well. Check it out. Pretty cool. Not to rain on your parade or anything, but impeachment doesn't mean removal. What makes you think that would rain on my parade? If I could, I don't think I could pan up here really easily. Do I need to literally dust off my MAGA cap for you? You need to watch some of my videos, friend. I am down with the God Emperor, as they say. Ugh. All right, why no special forces? Why didn't I do special forces? Honestly, but kind of for the same reason I was talking about jiu-jitsu. Every time I was always interested in that. I had sort of planned to do that, but a combination of it really beating down my body just to do stuff like that and all the marching and everything. My body does not seem to handle that stuff very well in terms of recovery, and just kind of being already upset with the Army by the time I would have been able to make that decision because of For those of you who don't know, when you go through ROTC, which was under scholarships, was already under contract when I went through ROTC, you don't actually get to choose your MOS. You choose, or you rank the different brand or the different MOSs in order of what you would prefer, and then they create what's called an order of merit list, where they rank everybody based on a bunch of different factors, one of which, a large portion, I think 50% of your OML rating was your grades. Then they have PT tests in there, they have your peer evaluations, and all the other stuff baked in the cake as well. I was really trying to go aviation. I did extremely well on the flight aptitude test. They told me I got the second highest score that had ever come through the University of Florida Army ROTC program at that point. So I have no reason to assume that wasn't true. But needless to say, I did extremely well on the flight aptitude test. My PT scores were always great, but I was a terrible student. I'm intelligent, but I just did not go to class. So I got crappy grades, and that was a huge portion of OML. So I didn't get aviation, I got transportation. And I was expecting to get active duty aviation, and I got National Guard transportation. So I was pretty pissed off about that. And at that point, I was just looking to get out and got out as soon as I could, basically. So that's why no special forces. You're not too old. You're never too old to break an ankle. Low, high, low test. Was that you're talking about yeah, they had all sorts of stuff in there. So that's cool. Dead fish, really cool. Kind of cooking style cutlery. I will definitely utilize those as I needed them. Now this one looks pretty cool. DEFCON 5 tactical product. This is a Battlbox, in case you guys are just coming in. I was in transportation and it sucked bad. Yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't terrible, but it's just a far cry from flying helicopters around. This is some kind of machete. DEFCON 5 tactical products. Cool. This is kind of like a, I don't know if you would consider this a parang shape, but I really do enjoy the ones where the blade makes contact before your knuckles do, whether it's a parang, a kukri, or anything of that shape. This is kind of cool. A lot lighter weight than it looks. I am kind of a fan, actually. I think this would be good for the zombies, man. This is of the lightweight, kind of like maybe chopping through brush or long grass and vines. You wouldn't be using this to chop down trees or anything. It's more of a machete. But it seems to be pretty sharp. Interesting handle. HETs with the Hemet tankers, is that what you're talking about? I remember driving back from an annual training one time, and I was being an officer in the unit. I was not actually licensed on all of the vehicles, licensed to drive all the vehicles, all the big Hemet tankers and stuff like that. I was licensed on the Humvees and the, what are they called? Some of the other ones, but not on the big tankers. So we were driving back from one of our annual trainings, and there's like this 19-year-old girl who just got out of AIT, so she was licensed, but probably had just like backed around a few cones or whatever. And we were in like a downtown city traffic going back to our unit, and it was raining in Florida, and this big tank was like fuel sloshing around in it, and I'm just like, this is how I die. I was like, thank God the traffic is bad enough that we can only go like 15 miles an hour, because otherwise we'd be dead for sure. Chilling and chilly Whitby. I'm too disabled to break my ankle yet again. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Let's see what else. These are interesting looking. Triumph System, Prairie Dog, Ethical Harvest, Prairie Dog Reactive Target. So it has like little, I don't know if those are like blood packs or something. You can see where you hit it. That's pretty cool. We got a turkey neck one too. Pretty badass. I was just actually went shooting yesterday, and I was kind of lamenting. I only actually took paper targets out there with me, and it was kind of annoying because I really like shooting more reactive targets. Even something like cans, bottles full of water. Stuff's fun. You get to actually see when you hit it. You know, for actually refining your aim, paper is useful to actually, you know, multiple strikes, see where you're at. But when you're shooting for fun, plinking, or actually doing drills and stuff like that, reactive targets of some kind are always really fun. So I'll have to test these out, see if I can blast these animals. So that's another pretty cool thing from this Battlbox. Here we go. This is interesting looking. This is actually a metal rocket stove in a kit. Pretty cool. Hellfire rocket stove. Now it's quite heavy. I would guess this weighs about 10 pounds, but that makes sense if it's a rocket stove. So, I mean, obviously this isn't something that you would probably put in your backpack for camp or for a hiking or anything, but it does lay surprisingly flat. And this might be something good for a base camp type setup, backyard, because it is considerable, or if you need to take your vehicle, and it's considerably smaller than something like a, instead of the brand of stove, I forgot. It makes the rocket stoves. Yeah, this target's pretty cool. So this is just made out of sheets. And you put it together pieces. Cool. So you put it together like those dinosaurs made out of wood. It smells exactly like the oil that they put on guns. So that's pretty cool. I'll have to put that together and try it, because I mean, rocket stoves are fantastic in how efficient they are and quick. And this one is also small. It's not light, but it does store flat, so that might make it good for a vehicle type situation, or just something storing in your house and you don't want to take a lot of space. I've talked often with people who live in apartments or small houses or even tiny houses, trailers, things like that. You still want to prep, but your space is at a premium. So if you might not want to get one of those big, you know, kind of insulated rocket stoves, which, you know, why can I not think of the name of that brand? I have one. It's not True Night, that's a flashlight brand, but it's now I got to look this up. I'm losing my mind. They're like green. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah, rocket stoves are good for excursions. I'm just saying this one is a little bit heavy. Well, I can't find it. Anyways, no, not the green egg. That's like a barbecue smoker. This is a little rocket stove. I don't even know if they're called EcoZoom. Yep, that's it. Thank you, Ray. That's the one. Those are fantastic too, but they are fairly big, and they have like, because they have like an insulated stuff. So they all, I've even shown you can make one out, a tiny little can. This obviously takes up not that much space. While it is quite heavy, seems like it could work pretty well for a backup stove, stuff like that. Because I think it's always important to have a few methods to be able to cook your food. My primary method here is a sun oven. Then I have a propane stove, like grill, and several cans of propane, which you can cook for a surprisingly long time on, like 4 cans. So between that, like I should be able to do the vast majority of my meals with the sun oven here. And then as a even third or tertiary method, I have several rocket stoves, which can use almost anything for fuel and very little of it. So definitely have some multiple ways of cooking here, but it's a cool thing for your. Interesting. I've seen videos of these lately. Pull start fire. You basically just pull the ripcord and it ignites an auto lighter, some sort of matches or something, which also then has a piece of, you know, soaked wood or something like that that will burn for a few minutes. So it's a fire in a little box. This itself, it says, will burn for 30 minutes. So you can not just have to start super small with super dry wood. And there's 2 of those in here. So maybe I'll use one of those on a video at one point. But they're not small, but these also may be good for just camping and stuff like that too, when you don't want to have to worry about it. And sometimes I know if you go camping, I've been to plenty of national parks and stuff, if you do buy wood, they a lot of time come in pretty big logs that are usually at least as big as this water bottle, sometimes bigger, quarter logs, something like that. So unless you want to do a significant amount of batoning or shaving to get smaller pieces of wood, you might just want to bring one of these. And certainly these would also be great in a survival situation too if you have the space for it. Maybe you just bring one of these for if you really need to get a fire quick. I remember there's an old story, I think it was a Jack London story, to start a fire. Was that Jack London? Yep, it was. Okay. And it's a short story about this guy who's out in the wilderness in the freezing cold, and he starts to get frostbitten and hypothermic to where he really can't even use his fingers. And his fingers are basically wood to where he can't use them. And he has all his matches, but he can't pick them up at once. And he manages to start a fire. And while he's lighting it, he knows that it's like roasting his skin, but he can't even feel it. And he's like, I need this to save my life. And he's starting the fire. And then basically, as soon as the fire gets started and heats up a little bit, it heats these branches above him, and a big clump of snow just falls off it and smothers the fire. And he's basically done for and loses his mind, like runs off, like trying to warm, and just dies. So maybe if he'd had something like this, he would have been able to pull the string even with his frozen mitts, and he might have survived. And that would be a much different story then. But that's a must read for any preppers or survivalists and outdoorsmen is To Start a Fire by Jack London. Let me know if you guys have read that story. Here's something in a little nondescript black bag. What do we got in here? Aha! Set of 4, no less than 4 extendable cooking skewers. Actually, I think I have one of these that I believe my dad gave to me at one point, but they're sharpened on the end and they're telescopic. Now, this is something that you might want to take backpacking or certainly camping, because they're good for hot dogs, they're good for marshmallows, good for anything that you can skewer on to the little tines on the end there. And you don't have to have space for a long ass stick. You can just put them down, or collapse it rather, and then when you need to get in the fire, not have to roast your knuckles. And then you put these caps back on there so you don't stab through your bags or whatever. But these are actually pretty useful. As simple as they are, these definitely come in handy because you can get that, actually hold that stuff over the fire. So yeah, these don't have a brand name on them as far as I know. Well, if you guys want to try the pool start fires before I get a chance to use them, they have a coupon code on here. It says use code PSF-10. 10% off your order. It says these are no matches or kindling, lights wet wood, wind and rain proof, 2.5 times hotter than leading brands, burns for over 30 minutes, lightweight and compact. Pretty cool. Here's our last item of this, our November's battle box, an orange screw. These are pretty cool. I actually think I saw a Facebook ad for these not too long ago and thought that was pretty interesting. They're anchors. You can use them as tent stakes. You can use them to tie off your pet, tie down tarps. Very lightweight for the size. Here's made out of some kind of high density plastic. Really cool. Tent stakes, grass, tarp tie downs, landscaping, camping, small. Basically all stuff that I mentioned already. All on there. We got 4 in this bag here. These are definitely pretty cool. If you take your dog to the park, or if you're bugging out with it, might not be a bad idea to have a couple of these or one in your bag, especially for your dog. Tie down tarps, like I said, tents, any sort of anchor point for whatever you're doing. Really cool. Especially out here where there's not a lot of trees and things like bushes to tie stuff to. If you're in the desert or whatever, grasslands, something like this would be useful. That is it for this battle box, and I'm definitely, as usual, very happy with all these things. A couple of them I actually might have tried to get on my own at some point, like these, because I am interested in that. These are skewers are great. I have used these before, almost this exact one, if I'm not mistaken, so I can vouch that these are useful. Someone please tell me that they got the Mark Zuckerberg green egg reference. I did not. Is that from a cartoon or something? Or Reddit? So we got the skewers. We got 2, count them, 2 pool fire starting. Move back to Florida. Why move back to Florida? I really do like the desert out here. I really enjoy Vegas. in the desert and Vegas in particular. Hellfire rocket stove, fairly heavy but fairly compact. Definitely excited to give that a try. Outdoor use only. It says it right. It's got the box right here. Desert is a hard place for Florida boy. I don't know, man. I don't find it to be that hard. It's other than my knuckles splitting open from the dry weather right now, I prefer the dry weather to the constant rain. Like I spent a lot of time in Florida. I do like Florida, but the weather was bumming me out. I definitely prefer the dry heat to the stuffy humidity. We also have some really cool reactive targets of a groundhog or a prairie dog and a turkey. What I can only imagine are like supposed to be blood, so it'll blast open when you hit it, which is pretty cool. And we also have this really cool, this is actually impressive looking, for those of you who haven't seen it, the Dead Fish cutlery set. It's a cool kind of like velvety case, and the knife itself is quite dramatic looking. And there's a little one as well. So I'll probably definitely be using these. And then the other last thing was this really cool kind of parang style machete called the DEFCON 5 Tactical Products. Arizona has great gun laws, can't even open carry in Florida. In certain circumstances you can, but yeah, I agree. Arizona probably has the best gun laws in the country. It's just constitutional carry. You don't even need a permit to conceal carry. In Florida, you can only open carry if you are going to or from hunting or fishing. It's very strange. But, so here's the parang style. This thing feels good. I do wish the handle was a little bit longer so you could not have to use the finger hole there. Because if I grip it like that, it just feels like I'm not using the finger spots properly. So it feels, and I'm doing it like that, it feels like it's about to fall out of my hand almost. But holding it like that's not too bad. Gives you some control. Yeah, so in Florida, also the concealed carry permit, it still shall issue. You don't have to take the class if you're a veteran, and the permit includes pretty much anything, not just guns, and certainly not just pistols. Whereas out here in Vegas, I'm not exempt from taking the class, costs money, and it only covers, not only does it only cover guns, I think it only specifically covers handguns. I don't think you can conceal a shotgun or whatever under the actual permit, but I'll have to check on that. Not that you would do that very often anyway, but I still think you should be allowed to, and it's especially bizarre considering that you could open carry it, but you're not allowed to just not freak everyone out and keep it under your trench coat or whatever. And even more bizarrely is that it doesn't include knives, which you can also open carry, but you have to get a May issue permit from the sheriff to conceal carry knives over a certain size. So really bizarre. What's the time where you are? Oh, Whitby, UK, 6:40 a.m., bright and early over there. It's 10:38 p.m. here in Pacific time in the U.S. Vegas is in Pacific. We're right there on the edge of it, I think, between right by Pacific and Mountain. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. But yeah. So the Florida did have slightly. Overall, I think Florida was slightly better. Although I think you should be allowed to open carry too. So that's, even though it's not something that I utilize often, because from a self-defense perspective, I don't want people to know that I have the gun, but it absolutely should be legal. Yeah, it's Kyle Reese-style sawed-off. Well, I actually have the, I don't have it in this room with me, but I have my Mossberg Shockwave, which is not much bigger than his little sawed-off shotgun there. And yeah, so things like that. 7:38 p.m. in New Zealand. That's pretty cool. Always wanted to go to New Zealand. I definitely will make it over there at some point. Whitby, UK, home of Dracula. Awesome. Thanks for watching, sir. Marco says he lived in AZ for 2 years. I'm from Florida. Love your vids. Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, Arizona is awesome. I will say the people in Arizona, specifically Phoenix, are considerably better looking than the people in Vegas. But it may just be because I was hanging around ASU, all the college girls. But I was kind of shocked because I came from a college town in Florida where I'd lived for like 15 years. So I kind of got spoiled. because everyone was young and fairly good looking. And then I come out here into Vegas and everyone's like kind of decrepit and way older, obviously. Probably not older than the average for Florida, but definitely more than the average for Gainesville. And so then after being in Vegas for a while, we went to Phoenix and I was just like, whoa. I was pretty blown away. Like the servers that were at this taco place we went to were so hot that like the girls we were with were mad. They're like, "Oh my god, she's a vein on her boob," and I was like, "Yeah, I noticed." 2 sleeps to Christmas. Yep. Yeah, that's because you're used to the military Wookiees. Yeah. They said, for those who don't know, there's a thing called military goggles too, or army goggles, which are kind of like beer goggles. Which, if you don't know what those are either, it's how things start to look different when you're drunk. Specifically, how people start to be better looking when you're drunk. And the worst thing about, or the reason that army goggles are worse than beer goggles, though, is because you realize it's happening. You're not drunk like with beer goggles, so you're like, why does this person look attractive to me? And I know they're not. I've seen them already. But when you're on nothing but dudes all the time, it happens, man. Scary stuff. These are the sacrifices that people don't realize. This is what they're talking about when they thank you for your service. It's the stuff you have to tolerate. The military. Okay, so all right, what else we got in here? I think I got pretty much everybody's. I'm not going to be too long on one tonight, but I just want to touch base with everyone. Go through the battle boxes, which are awesome as usual. This one was particularly cool. And is there anything else going on in the world of prepping right now? Obviously, the economy is in some precarious position fundamentally, but it's been that way for a while. Everything's roaring on the surface. Employment is good. Stock market's insanely high. But nothing about the fundamentals has changed, and everything is becoming on a base level is in a worse spot than it has been ever, pretty much, because there's more debt, more people who are in a bad spot. Like Phoenix versus LV, which one wins? I don't know. I haven't spent enough time in Phoenix to really get a feel for what it would be like to live there. But I've enjoyed my time there. I do enjoy the casinos and all the pomp and circumstances of Vegas. So I like that. And they both kind of have the ability, they both have the weather, you know what I mean? The dry desert weather. Phoenix can be even hotter than Vegas though. But they both have kind of the big city stuff. What I like about Vegas is that you have the big city stuff, but you also have the outdoor stuff. You can drive out into the desert. To some extent, also that's true in Phoenix or in Arizona. So I think I would be fine in Phoenix too. That was one of the places I was looking at when I wanted to move out west was Phoenix. I was looking at Vegas, looking at Albuquerque. Albuquerque's is so much smaller than either of those two that I decided pretty quickly it's not really what I was going for. Would you say LV is greater than Denver? I like it better than Denver. The people in Denver are a lot different, a lot more hipstery, and obviously you get much more harsh winters there, a higher altitude. But if you're really into the outdoor stuff, Denver would be better. All the the 14K peaks around the area, all the mountaineering and stuff that you can do. Definitely not as deserty if that bothers you. But for me personally, I prefer Las Vegas to Denver, which I have been to Denver a couple times, and I enjoyed it. But it's a different vibe, more of like a Portlandish hipstery vibe, which is not my thing at all, man. I'm definitely more of like a bro douchebag type. New Mexico is a dump. Smart not to move there. There's just nothing there. I like kind of the total isolation of the desert you can get out there, but it was just Albuquerque is just not very big. It's very nice. Obviously there's trash parts of it, but a lot of it's very new too. But those parts are not very big. It's much smaller. And then there's really nothing else. Even Vegas, you feel pretty isolated, but it's a bigger city, and you have Phoenix 5 hours away. You got LA 5 hours away. You have all these different places that you can go. So it's not quite, right there for Utah, and you can get up to those national parks pretty easily. Yeah, we are getting all the Cali people are rushing over here. And it's getting worse because they're making it like people are shitting in the supermarkets and stuff in California. So people are trying to get the hell out of there. I don't know what the hell I would do if I saw someone just literally shitting in the supermarket. But that's pretty wild. Definitely trying to get away from that. But yeah, I don't think I would live in Denver. I don't think it's very cheap either. Vegas is surprisingly inexpensive in a lot of ways. You can pay a lot here, but it's easy to avoid that too. The housing market is inflated here, but I don't think it's worse than Denver. It's worse than where I was in Florida. Florida's weird because it's a very big state. So even though the real estate along the beaches and stuff will be expensive, lived in the middle of the state. My house was like $110,000 for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath with a big. It was old, but houses in that area were like prostitutes. If you weren't worried about them being old and ugly, potentially disease-ridden, you could get them fairly cheap. But big backyard here. The houses most of them are newer than that. There's not very many houses here that were built in the 60s. And yeah, go Gators. They actually did really well this year. I was happy with that. I mean, we went, what did we do, 10-3, 10-2? 10-2. Yeah, we only lost 2 games. We got a bowl game coming up. Really good. If we'd won either one of those games, LSU or Georgia, we probably would have made it into we at least would have made it in the SEC East championship and then could have gone to the SEC championship. But I mean, LSU is just kicking ass this year. I'm not that upset about it. If you told me at the beginning of the season we were going 10-2, I would have been happy with that. So it's pretty good. We were ranked, top 10 for most of it. Pretty cool. I think her boy, what the hell's his name? Trask was doing better than Franks anyway. So while it's never cool that someone got injured and it was a bummer for a quarterback to go down, I think Trask is the man. He's been doing really well. Excited to see what he can do next year. I always bet on the Gators at the beginning of every season since I moved out here, since I have the casinos. Just put $20 on them to win the national championship. So it was like 45-1 this time. So I would have gotten like $900. But it's a fun thing to do. But yeah, pretty cool. And so I always root obviously for the Gators. And then if they don't win, I'll root for the SEC teams. So I definitely want to see LSU smash like Ohio or whoever it ends up being. Please join Corsair Trainers Monday morning live stream, Prepper Bets. I'll check it out. I don't know if I know his. Yeah, Joe Burrow is kicking ass, man. He got the Heisman, right? So wasn't it like a hugely unanimous vote or something? He was doing really well. And our game with them, man, was good. It was a shootout back and forth until the very end. They pulled away. And I think they won by like 14 or something like that. Yep, go Gators. But it's been fun. It's actually interesting. In Gainesville, there was a restaurant called Miller's Ale House. And there's one of those, it's a chain, but I didn't know they were this far out west. And there's one of those here as well. And it's where the UF alumni team or group or whatever organization actually meets for all the games. So that's where I go for most of the games. It's pretty cool to have other Gator fans up. And there's a surprising number of people from Florida here in Las Vegas as well. Which Florida's a huge state, but specifically from UF, I've even met a few people. That's pretty cool. Yep, Tom Petty was from there. Pretty cool. I think like the hell, one of those murderers was from not Dahmer. What the hell's the other guy's name? The one they're making all the shows about lately. My brain is not working lately, guys. Sorry. Bundy. Yep. Yeah. I think he was from Gainesville, or at least lived there for a while. Why couldn't I remember Ted Bundy's name? Thank you. Marco's helping me out. Yeah. I guess Gainesville. His body was cremated in Gainesville, Florida. Ashes scattered at an undisclosed location. Yeah. Ted Bundy. Yep, that's the one. Couldn't think of his name. I got Dahmer stuck in my head. Incidentally, speaking of murderers, there's this goofy ass. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the show Ghost Hunters. I'm not into that shit, but apparently, my girlfriend had been watching Red Letter Media, and they do movie reviews because we're both fairly big movie fans. We actually did a lot of podcasts. We haven't been able to do it lately for aforementioned reasons at the beginning of this podcast, but we had a lot of fun doing some movie podcasts called Faint Praise. So if you search for that, some cool videos. And I want to start doing those again in the future at some point. But she watches Red Letter Media, which is a movie review kind of show. And they, one of the guys is big into this ghost hunting show. And I guess that guy made a haunted museum out here. Zach Baggins or Bill Dildo Baggins or whatever his name is, made a haunted museum. And she really wanted to go. And I was like, man, this is going to be so damn gay. But, and it was like $40 and I'm already stingy. I'm like, I'm not going to spend $40 to get some haunted fucking people dressed as ghosts jumping out at you and shit. And but it was actually more of a legitimate museum. I thought it was going to be more like a haunted house with them like, "Ooh," but it was a guided tour. There's very little of that, but it was an actual museum, and they had a lot of like serial killer memorabilia, which I thought was pretty cool, and others like actual artifacts. Like they had Jack Kevorkian's murder van, or not murder, like his assisted suicide van and all his equipment. They had the actual pot that Ed Gaines like boiled human flesh in, so that was pretty interesting. That stuff I thought was pretty cool. And but the stuff like, oh, this painting was in a house, then everyone said the house was burned down because of the painting. I'm like, I don't care about that shit. Is Denver paused with all the Cali types and pot? It's definitely paused, but I don't know if I really didn't get the Cali vibes. It's definitely more of the like crunchy granola Portland types there than Cali. At least that was my experience. But it's still a cool city. But yeah, definitely too paused for me. Man, the internet comes up with some hilarious shit, man. I don't know how people can even get mad at this stuff. The internet is just a weird. I mean, it's kind of just evidence to me that I'm living in a simulation. I'm not convinced that I may be the only conscious being in this universe, and everyone else is part of the simulation. I have no idea. I haven't decided yet. There's just too much weird shit going on. Could be other weird stuff like going on as well. Definitely think we may have had merged timelines or jumped timelines into the Trump era, which is pretty interesting. Like it wasn't supposed to happen. Another thing that I think is really weird is that I'm pretty sure that Post Malone is only rich and famous because of some like weird time travel perturbation, like Biff getting rich and famous in Back to the Future 2. Because there's no reason that guy should be famous. He's fucking hideous. His music sucks ass. And I mean, all music sucks ass these days. Like seriously, that's one that I know I feel old as fuck. Yeah, Obey. If you guys haven't seen They Live, you need to watch it. But the best line of that movie is when he discovers that the aliens are actually, half the people are these zombie lizard people or whatever, and he laughs and he's like, figures it would be something like this. So true, because it's gonna be something like that. There isn't an answer to all these like fundamental questions that wouldn't be weird and hilarious. The most unbelievable answer is that everything is just as it appears, with no deeper meaning or no weird shit going on. That's the most unbelievable one. Yeah, They Live. What camera do you use for your vlog? For these, where I'm just sitting in front of the computer, it's just a Logitech webcam. The 10, I don't remember the model number. They're like $40. They're pretty decent as long as you have good lighting. And sometimes you would want to get additional mics and things like that. I have a Canon PowerShot G7, I think, which I do my outdoor ones, has better video quality, does not have the ability to take a external microphone though, which is probably its biggest flaw. Yeah, Marco, that's the best quote from that one for sure. That movie's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter in general. They Live is a masterpiece. Escape from New York, Escape from LA, I love. The Thing is obviously incredibly excellent. Assault on Precinct 13 is bomb as well. And he makes some great movies. Most of his earlier ones, his later ones, like Ghosts of Mars and stuff. Yeah. What's up, G'day? G'day, mate. Did you see the vid of Marines getting arrested for people smuggling at Camp Pendleton? I didn't see a vid, but I did hear about that. Weird shit. My wife is a Buckeye, so I'll go for them, but I'm a Gators SEC. Well, I appreciate that, but the Gators are out of it, so you can go ahead and go for the Buckeyes if it's in the family. No shame in that. She's got actual reason for rooting for them. But yeah. So there's definitely been weird alien shit going on too. So I wouldn't be surprised. Like I've said in my videos before, I don't have strong opinions about stuff like aliens and ghosts and everything like that. I just really want some shakeups. You know what I mean? I just want something crazy to happen within the next, however many years of my lifetime. I don't want everything to just go on as usual. I want either aliens to show up, something crazy supernatural to be proven true, some sort of insane technological advancement like teleportation or faster than light travel or something like that. I just want some crazy shit to happen, man. That's all I want. Is that too much to ask? Is that really too much to ask? Is humanity altering paradigm shifts? Probably, but we'll see. Obviously, immortality would be great. Now, someone presented the choice. I like these like dilemma type questions always, but one was like you could get immortality, but you can't die even if you want to. Would you take it? And as much as immortality is appealing to experience all the different things that humanity in the future have to offer, in that situation where you literally couldn't die, I would have to say no, because you're guaranteed at some point, even if it's millions or billions of years in the future, to end up just floating in space or nothingness forever, because like once the earth was swallowed by the sun or whatever, you'd eventually have a lifetime of just nothingness, or an eternity of nothingness. That'd be pretty terrible. So if you could at least kill yourself, I would have to go for the immortality. I am a long way from home, 2,200 miles almost. It was from Gainesville. Yeah, so it's 2,200 miles, about 3 days of driving, 3 or 4 days, depending on how much you want to cram in each day. Long ass drive. Yeah, Clearwater's nice. I was in Gainesville. Definitely pretty much a party town there as well. Spent a lot of time in Tampa, Orlando, Cocoa Beach area. Yep, Florida's fun, man. And I have nothing bad to say about Florida other than I was sick of the rain, man. And I had no reason that I needed to stay there. I wanted to get out of there. But I do definitely enjoy Vegas so far. The only thing that's really tough about Vegas is that all my family, my girlfriend's family too, are still back on the East Coast, and I don't mind. I don't have like homesickness, but inevitably, obviously, you want to be able to stay in touch and travel, and you lose like a whole day traveling because of time change. So with the 4 to 4.5 hour flight and the 3 hours that you lose, and not counting any layovers, or you basically it takes an entire day, 12 hours or whatever, that just wiped out by going back. So if you're trying to take vacation time or something, you have to allocate that. It's just a pain in the ass. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, and half my family's in Gainesville. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like Florida, but I was ready. I've been there for 30 plus years. Been in Gainesville for 15. I was ready to try something else, and I definitely am glad I just got out and trying other things. I love it out here so far. It's pretty cool. Definitely, I like being able to just drive out in the desert and shoot. Got a cool 1994 Bronco to bomb around in the desert, the OJ Special. Although O.J. Simpson's Bronco was actually 93, the chase took place in 94. Close enough. But I was scraping around in the Jetta. I still have the Jetta because the Bronco is really high mileage, and it doesn't get good gas mileage. It doesn't get atrocious gas mileage. It gets about 15 miles a gallon normally driving around, which isn't great. But the cool thing is it has a 32-gallon tank. And so even at 15 miles to the gallon, it's like a 600-mile range. Which is pretty awesome, pretty cool for a bug-out vehicle. Definitely and it's really easy to work on. Parts are cheap, and Broncos are great. The full-size Bronco is fantastic. I'll do some videos on it coming up in the near future. The one major problem that I have with it, it's not, I mean, not major, but the biggest thing that I don't like about the Bronco is the way that the rear tailgate slash topper thing opens. And they have a removable topper, but the back window actually comes up from out of the tailgate. It's electronic. It's not attached to the top. I really wish that the window was just a kind of like a normal truck topper that you could just flip open, or that the back was like a van and you could just have double doors. Because I'm always like getting shit and throwing it in and out of the back, and to just be able to run out, open it real quick and throw it. The rear actually will not open unless the window is all the way down. So not only is that a pain in the ass because the motors always get slow and old, so but if you were in a survival situation and the window was like shot out or broken, I don't know if that would allow the thing to open very easily, if I'd have to mess with it. So if I am in a survival situation or a imminent survival situation, I would probably have to just roll that window down and leave it down so that I could open the back, and then maybe I'll probably try to come up with some sort of like, I don't know, magnet flap or something that I can cover it with. Not a huge concern, obviously, but it is a pain in the butt. The other thing that I probably would change if I had the choice was it has manual locking hubs for the 4-wheel drive. So you have to get out, manually turn the hubs. It's very quick. It only takes about 5 seconds or 10 seconds per wheel. So you're talking about far less than 30 seconds if you're rushing. to do that. But it does mean that if you're like driving around and you get stuck or something, or all of a sudden something crazy happens, you do have to do that to be in four-wheel drive. So if it was, you'd have to have at least some sort of 20 seconds notice that you need four-wheel drive. So that's probably not going to be a problem, but it could be. But it also means it's less electric. So if there was an impending, like if I get any kind of notice of something crazy going, I would just put it in four-wheel drive and just probably leave it there. It'd probably get shittier gas mileage and stuff, but that's pretty much it. I like pretty much everything else about it. The Windsor V8 is pretty well known for getting mad reliability and mileage, which is great because I got this thing with 200,000 miles on, 195,000 miles actually. Runs fantastically. I got it obviously with the understanding that at some point in the near to medium future, I'm going to have to either replace or rebuild the engine. The engines for these things, if you get a stock replacement, are like $2,000 or less. So a couple more thousand to swap it out. I really don't have the facilities to do it myself, or I would. I might rent a storage unit or something because I just, wanted to learn everything there is to know about it and doing that. And they're really simple engines, and you can see everything. There's a lot of room in the engine compartment. But yeah, so for probably $4,000 or $5,000, I could get a brand new 0 mileage engine in there, and that's pretty cool. But for the time being, it's doing great. Swapping out a few parts here and there that are like $20 a piece. Not a big deal, but I do like it a lot. Definitely want to do all sorts of shit to it. It's pretty much stock. I definitely want to get. I've looked around at all the pictures and everything, and it seems to be, visually speaking, at least, a sweet spot for the Broncos is like a 6-inch lift with like 35-inch tires. The 9-inch lift is a little much, and you're starting to get into giant redneck monster truck territory there. And the tires just get freakishly expensive if you want to go bigger. Even the basic 35-inch tires, if you're getting like General Grabbers or something like that, you're looking at $200 or $300 a tire. You know what I mean? For like Mickey Thompson's or something like that. So if you're getting really bigger, like, even bigger than that, giant swamp and stuff, it's just expensive. And the lift kits are better than that too. And I want to get a suspension lift too. I don't just want to do blocks or whatever, but I want to get the roof lights and the roof rack because that really is good for cargo. And I need a winch. It has aftermarket steel bumpers, which are pretty cool. And it's got a front skid plate. But other than that, it's pretty much stock. It's got 32-inch tires on it right now, which I think are a little bit bigger than stock. But I don't know if the suspension is stock or not. I have to check it out some more. Yeah, 96 Broncos are cool. It was the last year of it, and it was also the first year that the Broncos had the OBD2, which is onboard diagnostics. The first and only year, because that was the last year they made them. Mine's a 94, doesn't have that. Is it a bug-out vehicle or daily driver? I mean, I got it predominantly to be a, used to go to the range for bugging out and stuff like that. Like I said, it's very high mileage, so bugging out would be iffy. I don't know if you'd want to hit the wasteland in a vehicle with 200,000 miles on it, but eventually I will be replacing or upgrading the engine. So, and it depends on the situation, but for sure, if I need to go into a crazy situation, I'm going to want the four-wheel drive truck, probably, not my Jetta, and just hope that it didn't blow up on me. Are you sure you aren't from Georgia with that Bronco? My bug-out vehicle is a Toyota FJ Cruiser with 245,000 miles on it. Only cost me $8,000. That's cool, man. Yeah, hopefully it keeps running on you. Toyotas are usually pretty reliable. I was looking at the FJs, looking at the Jeeps. Obviously, the Jeeps are great. The straight-up two-door Wranglers were just too small for me. And there's something about there's a lot of Jeep people. There's people who have Jeeps, and then there's Jeep people. And I didn't really want to just be a Jeep person. And even though I do like the Jeeps, and so I definitely didn't want the regular Wrangler. They're just too small. The four-door Wranglers, or the not Wranglers, are they still Wranglers? I don't even know that much about them. But either the Renegades or whatever they're called when they're at the four-door, or the Cherokees were cool too. I like the Cherokees. And actually, I'd gotten to a point where I'd found a Cherokee. I preferred the Broncos mainly because they're bigger, and I just think they look cooler. And they're not Jeeps. There's nothing wrong with Jeeps. Obviously, they're great. But like I said, I just didn't want a Jeep. I like the Broncos, or even the old Blazers, same thing. I was looking at either of those. I really wanted something that had enclosed space for like bug out reasons and things like that, and just general purpose. So pickup trucks, I was kind of were like my last choice. Pickup truck with topper would be my last choice behind the Blazer Bronco or a Jeep. But they're just hard to find, and everything out here, and I mean everything that's four-wheel drive, holds its value annoyingly well. So in all my searches for something four-wheel drive, which was my main concern, and what is something four-wheel drive, it would be like 1987 with 350,000 miles and 9,500 bucks. I'm like, are you kidding me? What is going on? Everything is very expensive. I finally found a Cherokee that had like 150,000 miles. Already had some cool stuff done to it, aftermarket suspension, light bar, stuff like that, roof rack, nothing major. And it was like 6,500 bucks. I was gonna buy it. I said, cool. I went and checked it out and everything. I said, I'll take it. Can I come back in 2 days? I said, I gave them the day, Wednesday. I was like, I'll come back with the cashier's check and everything. And they said, that's cool. So then even over that period, I said, hey, what name should I make these things out to? All this stuff. And they answered me. And then on the day that I was driving over there with the cashier's check, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be there in 15 minutes, like I said. And they were like, for the Cherokee, and they were like, oh, we sold it. And I was like, yeah, to me, right? Like, I'm the guy that's buying it. I'm not some new. And they're like, no, yeah, we sold it. And I was like, you fucking assholes. Like, I just wasted all this time. Now I've got cashier's checks. And then just by sheer divine intervention, I guess, because I should have had a Bronco all along, and the gods knew it. Within a few days after that, I found the one that I ended up buying, and it was only 5,000 bucks. The guy had been using it for not like a chase vehicle, but they were doing some of these like pre-runner races or something like that, and he used the Bronco as like a trail vehicle with just a little race radio in it. And yeah, I got it for 5,000 bucks, and it's pretty cool, man. I really like it. Yeah, and I really did want the Bronco. They're much bigger. It's much bigger inside. I think they're much more rare also, and I like that. I like being special. My narcissistic side was dealt with appropriately, and I think they look cooler too. So I'm happy with it. I like it a lot. I'm definitely glad I found the Bronco instead of that one. So they guess they did me a favor, but they're still assholes. It says, I have a 1968 Chevy truck, completely restored, stick shift, 4x4, 8-foot bed, points, and a plugs ignition. Cost me $14,500, but it's basically like a new truck. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. Like, obviously, if I don't have the money right now, but if I was looking, you could get all these newer trucks and everything, but I'm like, man, if I take this $5,000 Bronco and put $15,000 in it, it would be exactly the way I want it, with a new engine, new suspension, a bunch of the little extras that I want, especially if I did a lot of that stuff myself. And it would be much more unique, much easier to work on, and probably more rugged, especially for something like an EMP or something like that. Now, it is still fairly electric. It's fuel injected, but it still has a lot less of these minor tertiary fragile electronics and sensors and all that you get in modern vehicles. So for like, an extra 15 grand, so for $20,000, maybe 25,000, you would have like an awesome, totally customized 0-mile vehicle, and just what I want too, which is great. So that's my plan at this point. Obviously, saving up to make sure the engine, getting that down, the mileage, is an issue. Yeah, is the Falcon? That's the actual Mad Max one, right? The Falcon that he had, the last of the V8 Interceptors. Yeah, those were cool. You rocked it. Yeah, so I'm happy with it. I don't know how to add pictures into these live streams, but I'll do a video coming up, because I have like a pile of parts that I bought. Like, ooh, I'll do this. I'll put a new starter, and I'll do these. And I haven't done any of it yet, so I have like, my girlfriend's making fun of me for having an entire car's worth of parts, but it's really not anywhere that absurd. There's like a slight, I don't know what you call, like a dead spot on the starter is what I've heard it referred to. It's not really bad, but the parts for this thing are so cheap, and you don't even have to have like jack it up to get to half of them. You can, the engine bay, everything's there. It's so easy to work on that I'm like, oh, I'll just buy a new one. And I did that with a couple pulleys, new belts, stuff like that, really easy to get to. And so I'll do that over the next few days, or next few months probably. And I'll show you guys in that video what my truck looks like, and I really like it. So it's pretty cool. I wanted a black one. It's white, and I wanted a black Bronco, and I was gonna name it Black Phillip after this demon goat from the movie The Witch, if you guys have seen that. But now it's white, so I call it White Phillip. And it's cool. The name's growing on me because I repainting it. I want to do it right and get the engine compartment and inside and everything, and that's really involved. If you just paint it just black, you can do that. But then when you open the door, then the trim and stuff would be white, or at least even if they did that, the engine compartment and the various other parts would still be white, which is kind of half-assing it. So if I were to hit the slot jackpot or something, and could put like 40 grand into like just stripping it, sandblasting it, painting the whole thing, putting it in, then I would go ahead and do it. But for the time being, the white is growing on me. And White Phillip is treating me well so far. It's definitely fun to drive around. So definitely works a lot better for the desert, just bombing around. It's really fun. Now I just need to get a turret on the top with the M2. But it's fun. And I need to get a motorcycle at some point too. You know, these are the things that got to take care of. Important stuff. But yeah, it looks like we hit the hour mark. So if you guys have any other stuff to talk about, I got to eat or something. I just worked out. Got to feed the beast, my friend. Get some calories in me. I'm actually not a very big eater. And trying to gain weight, it's always a issue for me to not eat enough. I'm just not a big eater. Don't know what to tell you. But if you're going to get big, you got to eat, man. Ooh. So what else is going on in the prepper world? I've been talking about totally random stuff. I only got a modded ride on lawnmower. Yeah, we saw that. But I think, let me see. There was some article I read recently about something that happened that I wanted to talk about, and then I completely forgot. I'm also going to do a video soon about, I had done a video way back when about my goals for the year. Some of them I hit, some of them I got close, other ones I completely bombed. Part of that's related to what I talked about at the beginning of this video, where I just have to realize that there's only so many blocks of time and emotional effort that I can have. And pretending that I'm going to do all this actually made me not do any of it. And it's better if I just admit that I can't do all of it and focus on the few things that are the most important, kind of triage it for the time being. That's my plan for this coming year. So I'll make another video about that, probably within the next day or two. So, but there was something else prepping related that I was going to talk about, and now I don't remember what it was. I think it might have been the Boogaloo. Impending Boogaloo. I don't talk a lot about that stuff because to me, like the stuff that's going on in Virginia, I'm really excited to see that a lot of those sheriffs have acted so firmly, at least in their talk, about making the stuff Second Amendment sanctuary zones, and saying they were going to deputize as many people as needed to prevent unconstitutional enforcement of laws by the federal government, which is just awesome. Super glad to see that. But the reason I've never really kind of talked about a lot of that stuff and is because I've always assumed from even a young age that this was going to happen at some point. I never thought I would get out into old age without having to have something like this happen. So it's never really been shocking to me, or even all that I don't want to say all that concerning, because it is, but I just always assumed that this was going to happen at some point. So it's just a question of when. And so I guess that's why it just never seemed all that no point in talking about it, really, because I don't feel like it's something that we can prevent from happening at all. Maybe it is. Hopefully I'm wrong about that. I really hope I am, but we'll see, I guess. I don't think it's imminent. I think we got all sorts of other shit going on, and but we'll see. What do you guys think about that? Post in the comments your thoughts on if we're gonna have a Boogaloo soon or not. But yeah, man, I think I'm gonna go have my protein shake like a true bro. Build a better beef body, you know how it is. And thanks for watching, guys. I'm not gonna say how many more videos I'm gonna make in the near future, because I've always been wrong. Instead, I'm just gonna do it. So thanks for watching, you guys. And I will be back hopefully fairly soon. Thanks for all the support for you guys who haven't abandoned me, even in my time of being extremely inconsistent with video making. I will be back. Thanks for watching.